Hey, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here, and today I'm gonna be talking about Zenyatta and just my thoughts on the hero. Quick rundown of Zen's abilities for those who, maybe haven't played him before. His E, it discords people, so they take more damage from all sources, including self-damage and teammates. So you can see here, that's how much I do normally. With Discord Orb, I do a little bit more. The headshot makes it a lot more noticeable. You can see combined, it's like an extra 30 damage just from Zen alone from 2 separate shots. Also, applies to his kick and whatnot. He also has a healing orb that, does a similar thing, but to heal teammates, you can have them both applied at the same time at a pretty good range. But they do break if you don't have LOS. So, like, for example, right here, because I broke LOS with that guy, I can't discord him. But right here, it keeps healing. When I break LOS, it'll stop healing. A little bit later than the discord orb, because it's not as important. Yeah, there you go, right? There's also a little mechanic they added in like a season or two ago, where if you discord someone and they break LOS, you can't re-discord them for like 3 seconds or something, which was added and put in place to kind of help with tanks, and I think it was a decent change. I'll explain it more, in the actual game. And his last abilities are, first off, his kick, which boops you extremely far, right? Just, further than Lucio's boop. Also does more damage than Lucio's boop. Also has no cooldown because it's the same as anyone else's quick melee. It just does more damage and knockback for reasons unknown. Also, because Zen has shield, he can, use that to survive a little bit more. But at the same time, he has a very fat hitbox, right? Every other character has like a hot dog, like a vertical type of hitbox. Zen's more of like a hamburger, so it's actually a lot easier to hit the character if you do manage to get close enough to him, because he has no damage fall off on any of his stuff. His primary fire are these orbs, which are relatively fast projectiles. They do a good amount of damage, and even more because you generally discord the target you're shooting at. Alright, 2-shot headshot in a similar way to Kiriko. And the last thing he can do is if you hold right-click, he can charge up multiple of the orbs, and then when you release, it can fire all of them, and you can cancel this charge by meleeing if you don't want to fire him, because they can give away your location. They're really, really loud. He also has no footsteps, which means he can go on flanks. Another thing I forgot to mention. But yeah, you can use this right click to kind of like, get around a corner, peek out, and just execute people. Very commonly used by high level players. And his last thing is this little transcendence thing. Makes him immortal, heals up people really fast in the nearby area while it's active, and increases movement speed. And yeah, that's all of his basic abilities. I'll go cut to when I find a game. Alright. So first off, before I talk about Zen, while I still have the hero select screen available to me, I want to talk about how I feel about that Discord Orb change. It was a really big change that's never been in the game before. You used to just be able to spam Discord off cooldown on Zen, re-Discord the same target, which made there was really no point in ever breaking LOS or getting rid of Discord Orb, because it would just be back right away. Like, there's no cooldown on the ability. Now he has to swap targets if you break LOS, which is great for about half the tanks, right? Any tank that isn't a little bit more stationary, isn't a bit more brawly, can actually afford to go around corners and break LOS, which is amazing. And it means that you can't just always discord the tank 24/7 on Zen. You can just discord the tank like 90% of the time instead of 100. And it means it so when you're actually on tank, there's like something you can do about getting discorded all the time. Right? And what's great is that helps most tanks, right? Doomfist can just, get away, Ball can get away, any character that kind of moves around can get away. Even characters like Hog, like Corner Peak, can get away. But there are some characters, like Sigma, who a lot of times can play out, more in the open, or Reinhardt as well, where it's still kind of problematic, because what you can do is if you manage to maintain LOS, first off, it goes through barriers still. Like, if you discord, you can't discord someone when they have a shield out in front of them, but if you do manage to discord someone and then they put a shield in front of them, and you're still looking at them through the shield, it actually still counts as seeing them, and therefore the Discord Orb stays on them, which that's kind of still the problem left with Zenyatta, right? Like, the Sigma can put up a shield here. Now I can't discord him again, but that's a great change. You used to be able to just keep spam discording that same guy. And now you can't do that. But I do think it's a bit of a problem for the characters that do have barriers, that do play a bit more out in the open, like Ramatra, Ryan, and sometimes Sigma. Very rarely, Sigma should also be poking corners in the same way that Hog kind of peeks corners. But on those characters, it's kind of stupid that if Zen discords you, even if you're shielding, it doesn't go away. I think it should also disappear if you hold shield for a while. Maybe have it, take a bit longer if it's just shielded. But yeah, with that out of the way, though, that's my thoughts on that kind of change. I thought it was a great change, though. It made it so much more possible to play into, Zenyatta on any tank. Right, Reinhardt in particular gets fucked up by Zenyatta because he can't even get close, and if he does, you just kick him away. And then he kept him perma-discorded, so he would die very, very fast. And yeah. Wow, they want me. Can't blame him, though, I'm Zen. But yeah, overall thoughts on the character outside of that, though, is he's always been pretty well designed, especially in Overwatch 1 when there was more targets. It made a lot more sense for Discord Orb to be applied to just about anyone. Zen, with like his hamburger hitbox, is actually really, really easy to hit, really easy to do a lot of damage to, especially on characters like Reaper or McCree. It's extremely easy to kill a Zen if he's kind of out of position, if he's a little bit too close, a little bit too out in the open. It's very easy to punish him for being a bit too aggressive. His 0 footsteps make flank Yatta a very valid thing, like something you can actually pull off, which I'm personally a fan of. His right click also helps with that kind of flank Yatta, that's what I'm calling it. It's a flanking Zenyatta playstyle. Kind of helps that flourish a bit more. And yeah. Oh, that was kind of a waste, but whatever. That one was my bad. I figured Tyre was coming from me, and I used that ult selfishly. But overall, I think the balance of the character is interesting, right? His healing orbs do very little healing. All of your healing stats are pretty much tied to Transcendence. You can see I'm already, only at half the efficiency for healing. Partially because there hasn't really been too much for me to heal whenever I've been able to heal people. But also partially because, Zen Orb really just does not do that much healing. Damn, he got 2 ults in the time he used my 1 chance. But yeah, overall, basically, Zen has extremely high damage at the trade-off for mobility, because he has no mobility tools, and the trade-off for having very, very high, very low healing, generally. Right, you have single target heals that are pretty low. I mean, there is no cooldown on it, but it's very, very low. But with the orbs, it's actually really fun, because you basically get to play a fun little DPS-type hero. And a lot of the healing and damage healing is kind of in the background, because the orb is literally, you press a button while looking somewhere near someone, and, it kind of applies itself, it stays applied, it just keeps working. Yeah, Zen Brig also really notoriously good combo, but I'm not here to talk about combos like that today. Just thought I'd mention it, because, we're running it right now. But even right there, I discorded right before Moira faded, and that counts as breaking LOS when she fades like that. Yeah, overall, outside of Discord Orb on those certain tanks, I think Zen is in a much better place now than before. He was always in a really good place in Overwatch 1. I never really felt like he was super oppressive, even when he was better, especially toward the earlier seasons. But I did think for a lot of Overwatch 2, before they made that change where you can't re-discord the same guy, if he somehow does break LOS, he was a little bit too strong. So I'm glad they've changed that. I think having no footsteps and whatnot is fine. I do think maybe they can reduce the knockback on his kick, because the reason his kick got that knockback, because he didn't always have that knockback, he got it in Overwatch 2. The reason it does more damage in knockback is then the idea was that he can't really defend himself if someone gets close, and I think it's okay for him to have that, but I think the fact that it out boops and out damages Lucia's boop is a bit ridiculous. I think the damage on it's fine, but I do think the boop that it does should maybe be about half, so that characters like Rein, if they manage to get close to the Zenyatta, should actually be able to kill him. I think it's kind of stupid that right now, if you're on Zenyatta, and you just basically walk away and spam kick and shoot at a Reinhardt, he literally can't kill you. Like, Zenyatta beats Reinhardt in a 1v1, no matter what the map, no matter what the position, unless Rein gets a pin off. But even with pin, you can literally beat Rein away as he's pinning. That's not really a valid point either. I'm mainly saying this as a Rein player, because Zen is one of your biggest counters, a very common counter pick, and there's really not much you can do about him a lot of the time. You don't have any ability to close the gap on him, but that's more of like a Ryan v Zen specific thing. Even if the change I proposed was made, where shielding for like let's say 3 seconds gets rid of Discord Orb, I still think Zen will easily have the advantage on Ryan. And even if the the kick thing is changed as well. Oh, let me try to save him. Oh, he's gonna save himself. That was kind of a waste. Oh, I can't aim. Yeah. In too deep, you can get punished just fine. Like I said, very squishy hitbox, very easy to hit. I mean, just look at how easy of a time the Genji had hitting me with those. He's a very easy character to dive and hit. I do think his kick, doing as much knockback as it does, is a bit insane, and a lot of his Zens and higher elo are able to show that off quite well. But at the same time, outside of that, I mean, it's pretty balanced against pretty much every other hero. It could just be a Ryan-only thing where I feel like it's a bit insane that he can literally just beat Ryan in a 1v1, like, no matter what the conditions. And that's kind of my only problem. He also didn't used to have the extra 25 health, but honestly, because they nerfed his Discord as much as they did, and because of how the 5-tank thing type kind of works, I think giving them the extra 25 health for a bit more self-sustain is actually okay, in my eyes. Yeah. Overall, though, pretty good design, right? He gets damage at the exchange of heals and mobility. And yeah, he's great for dealing damage. And doing tons of damage. A lot of the heals is very low maintenance. And he's a very fun hero to play, and honestly, a lot of the time, okay to play into. It can be hard in some comps, like especially a lot of bunker comps, to actually go and pressure the Zen, because one of his biggest weaknesses is that he is so easily shootable, and can be taken out if he's a little bit too close to people pretty easily. And even though the kick helps mitigate that, and against a lot of characters, you're pretty dead, right? If you get into Reaper's effective range against pretty much any DPS on Zen, and the guy you're fighting isn't completely awful, you will probably still die to him. Your fire rate is the tiniest bit slower than stuff like Cass's revolver and stuff, and he has a very, very easy job bursting down his Zen. On the whole, though, like I said, those shield heroes maybe still need to be looked at in terms of Zen. Maybe buff him some other way if he really needs it, but I don't think he will. And yeah, overall that's it. I think he's great for the game. I think the trade-off that he has, the damage for the heals and mobility, is a pretty fair exchange as far as power goes. You can see it's very easy to hit this. The legs go way out there, right, compared to other characters. I know he's a bit off the ground, so you can't aim at his feet, but nobody aims at anyone's feet. They always aim at the torso, and these legs are always massive and cover a large part of your screen. So it's very easy as like McCree or someone just to do that, right, for most rangers. Even like way back here, if you can see his Zen, it's pretty easy to hit the shots on him and just kind of finish him off. And that is actually decent exchange for a lot of the power that he has. And yeah, they've kind of addressed the one main problem I used to have with Zen. There used to be zero problem with Zen, like up until I think literally last season when they made this change. All you did on Zen was like, ooh, tank, Discord. Right? You would go around the corner, the tank would go around the corner to get rid of it for a second, and then you'd be like, ooh, tank, Discord, and you would just spam Discord on the tank every time. And because it does like, I think 30% increased damage for everyone on your team, what you basically could do is turn a 600 health tank into a 400 health tank for the entire game as long as you were alive. Which was just ridiculous, because 400 health is what the tanks had in Overwatch 1 when there was 2 of them, right? That's the health they have in Open Queue where you could have like 4 of them. So the fact that you can turn the only tank into a 400 health target that you can just burst down in like 4 or 5 headshots, especially with this right click, you could actually really tear through tanks with this, like even without Discord. It's just kind of was very ridiculous, and the change definitely addressed that pretty well, I'd say. And yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to say. His ult is also not very impressive. It requires line of sight, if I didn't really explain that well before, so you can actually still, even when Transcendence is up, first off, you can anti-nade, and that just counters the entire ult. Second off, if you block the Zen's Transcendence with barriers, so if you have like a Rhine shield in front of the Zen or something between the Zen and the guy's trying to heal, you can actually make it so he won't get healed with Transcendence up, right? Like pieces of the map also will block it. It doesn't like heal through the wall like this. You actually need to be able to see the guy in some way. Like this would heal because I can see the guy if I was turned around, but this wouldn't heal because there's a wall here now. And it's overall pretty solid hero. pretty non-problematic at this point, outside of a few matchups, like I said, Reinhardt being one of them. Not exactly sure how I'd fix that, but it still doesn't feel amazing when they have, like, I don't know, let's say Bastion, Orisa, Zen, right? Because it's already hard enough to get in as is against Bastion, Orisa on Rein. And then if you add a Zen so that your 600 health is basically 400 anytime you try to walk forward, I mean, you're just gonna die. But against pretty much, like, I'd say, what, like 70% of the tanks at this point, right? Everyone except maybe, like, Ram and Rein and Orisa, and even then Orisa can probably still survive. So pretty much just Ram and Rein are the two tanks who maybe can't get out of the way, and can't do as much about the new Discord changes. So maybe look at those two characters specifically, because it is really sucky when you're in here on Ram. But let's say I'm over here and I'm fighting, or let's say I want to block for a second, and then Zen just throws a Discord on me, and I'm like, well, now I'm just taking like 800 times more damage. There's nothing I can do about it. And there really is nothing you can do about it sometimes on those two heroes. Every other hero generally plays in a way where if they have a Zen, you're a little bit conscious of it, you can definitely easily play around it. And I think that's great, because he's a very fun hero to play. I've always had fun playing Zen. He was just a little bit problematic when there was one tank and he could spam Discord. But now that that's changed, having high damage at the exchange of lower heals, lower sustain for the rest of your team is perfectly fine. One thing I do want to add is if you are a Zen player, please do not play Zen with Lucio, Lifeweaver, or Mercy. Right, those characters do not mix with Zenyatta. Everyone else is fine. But those three, actually Lifeweaver's fine, but Mercy, Lucio, and Zen are just, they're not a good combo. They don't work that well. You can win games with them, but you're going to make it very hard for your tank unless they're like a ball player, and those are really, really rare nowadays. There's just not enough heals to go around, right? With that being said, leave any comments if you have any more questions or anything you want to say. And I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.